Hey, what's up, everyone? It's Jennie Dildine, the LDS Mission Coach, and you are listening to the LDS Mission Podcast, episode number 154, The Line Between Motivation and Overwhelm. I'm Jennie, the LDS Mission Coach, and whether you are preparing to serve a mission, currently serving, a returned missionary, or a missionary mama like me, I created this podcast just for you. Are you searching for epic confidence, ready to love yourself and to learn the how of doing hard things? Then let's go. I will help you step powerfully into your potential and never question your purpose again. It's time to embrace yourself, embrace your mission, embrace your life, and embrace what's next. Hey everybody, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I'm excited to be with you on this fine Friday to talk about some stuff around the mission and around being a return missionary, about preparing for your mission. And it's good times and also really challenging times out there. Today, actually, I wanted to let you know is the last day that you can register for Mission Prep Plus for June. And I've been thinking a lot about the fact that in Mission Prep Plus, we're going to talk about all the things that no one's talking about. Like when you go to the MTC, you're probably not going to have people to talk to. I mean, you'll have resources to talk to people about your anxiety or about how you're comparing yourself to your companion or about difficult companions or failure and things like that. But generally speaking, the focus of the MTC is about teaching, right? About preach my gospel, developing Christ-like attitudes, not attitudes, but attributes, all of that good stuff, which is way, way important. But I've been thinking in Mission Prep Plus, we talk about the stuff that no one's really talking about. Like you can ask us the questions about the tough things and what's really hard for you and what you're actually worried about. And what are you worried about that you don't want anyone to know that you're worried about? Okay. And that is the stuff that we talk about in there. And we get all of your questions answered. We give you tons of tools so that you can create the mission that you want. You can stress less, have more confidence, and be the kind of missionary that you want to be once you have those mindset and emotional tools. It's amazing. And we start another session in July. We have one more in August. And just as a heads up, I think August is going to be the last time I'm going to offer it for the fall. So if you're leaving in the fall, plan on joining our August group because I might not offer it again until the spring, till like February. So just a heads up about that. As always, we also offer one-on-one coaching for any other needs besides preparing missionary. I have a team of amazing coaches. If you are home and you're struggling, if you're on the mission and you're struggling, we're all about it. You just want to probably sign up for a strategy call with me and we can see if our one-on-one stuff is a good fit for you. And I think I've worked with hundreds of missionaries now and clients in all stages of the mission experience. And it's just nice to have someone on your side that you can like talk to about this stuff. And coming from a mom, I actually just got a email from a mom. And she was like, oh, can you help my missionary? And her missionary has been messaging her like how much he's struggling and things like that. And coming from a mom's perspective, because I've had missionaries, sometimes you just want to be the mom. You don't want to have to figure out the mindset stuff or the motivation stuff or the failure stuff or the confidence stuff or the worst stuff. That's what we do. We can totally tackle all of that with your missionary or with your RM, whatever you need. We are here for it. So let's jump into motivation and overwhelm. So this actually was not even the podcast that I was planning to record today, but I started kind of noticing a pattern with myself over the last month. And it's May. We're getting to the end of May now. And actually, this comes out on the very last day of May. And I've been noticing how mostly I've sort of been able to manage things and like manage my emotions. But towards the end of this month, as things are starting to pile on more for me, I went to like a coaching workshop boot camp thing. I also am leaving tomorrow to go to my nephew's high school graduation. We have some trips coming up. We have mission prep starting next week. As I start to feel these things start to pile on more and more and more, I'm noticing that there's a fine line between being energized and excited and motivated to do things, and then this little brink, and it's very fine line where you cross over and all of a sudden you're completely overwhelmed with everything that you need to do and everything that's coming up. I get quite a few emails from missionaries serving all over the world, particularly clients that I've worked with one-on-one or clients who've been through Mission Prep Plus, and I read all of those emails, and one of the things I see that's sort of prevalent on the mission is like, oh my gosh, it was a crazy week. We did this and we did this, and it was so exciting, and we're seeing so many miracles, and it's like this high intensity, high go, 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 go sort of vibration or energy that comes across in these letters, okay? And there's nothing wrong with that. But as I've observed sort of as the weather has changed, as I'm feeling more excited about the summer and like more motivated to do certain things this summer and kind of get some things going in my business, and even as I look towards things and goals I'm working towards in the fall, I just notice that my brain pretty easily wants to cross over from motivation to overwhelm. Okay, so what I want us to think about is if you think of like bars on a musical staff. So if you're not familiar with music, there's usually 5 bars of a musical staff. And actually, as I'm looking out my window right now, there's like paneling on this house. So it could be any sort of lines that go across. I think of our emotions as in different places. They occur different places on that staff. So I'm pretty sure I don't actually know what I'm talking about, but I'm pretty sure like a higher vibration would be like a higher pitched noise, right? If it's higher on the staff, and if it's lower on the staff, it would be a lower pitched noise. So I know for sure that sopranos, if you're into music, I'm a singer myself, sopranos would sing and flutes play on the higher parts of the staff and maybe even above the staff, whereas like altos sing lower, or if you're a male voice, the tenors would sing higher on the staff and the basses would sing lower on the staff. So that is kind of how I picture our emotions, is there's these high intensity emotions. And if you picture like a squiggly line on the top of those 5 lines, like a moving wave sort of thing. And we have these higher intensity emotions or higher vibration emotions. And these are motivation, right? They feel kind of buzzy. It's excitement. But I've noticed over the last month that sometimes when I'm in that higher vibration, my brain and my body get kind of confused and sometimes go to other of those higher vibration emotions like nervousness, overwhelm, and sometimes even anxiety. That's kind of what I've been noticing this month is like, I'm just feeling a little more anxious than normal. We also have, well, that's normal for me, right? I think all of it is within the normal human experience. But what I've noticed for me is that I'm like kind of up on that higher end of the staff on that vibration more than normal for me, right? Then we have these lower vibration emotions. So picture the same thing on the bottom of the staff where it's just like a sort of a wave that moves up and down. And some of these lower vibrations might be things like sadness, loneliness, even boredom, right? Where we're just feeling unmotivated. And what I was thinking about is the higher vibrations make us feel like we want to get up and move, even if it's getting away from something, right? Like if we're nervous, we want to get away from something, or if we're overwhelmed, we want to get away from something or our to-do list. Whereas these lower vibrations make us feel like we kind of want to slow down and shut down. And I think these are designed, right, by our brain and our bodies for a really good reason. Again, none of them are wrong. All of your mission letters home don't have to be like, go, go, go. Everything's like, go, go, push, push, move, 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 right? Like so many miracles, so many exciting things happening, which they can be. But my guess is you also have these like lower vibration emotions that happen too, where we kind of want to pull away or we want to shut down. And all of it is good. All of it is fine. So as I've been observing myself over the last month, maybe I've actually watched some reels and some TikToks and things that say May is called Maycember, which I think is really funny because they say it's basically like as busy as December, but without the cookies, sparkle, and joy, which I think is hilarious. I've also seen it called Mayhem, right? May-hem, like mayhem, where there's just so much going on and it feels crazy and kind of almost out of control in a way with all the activities and the end of the year concert and all of that. So when I'm in those vibrations, again, I think it's gone on long enough for the month of May. My brain gets a little bit confused. Those high vibration emotions turn into things that aren't necessarily useful. Again, overwhelm is not bad. We're going to talk about it in just a second, but it's a fine line to sort of pay attention to when we've crossed it. My guess, and I think this is super interesting to observe as well, is that this could be also true in the lower vibrations, right? We get confused in those lower vibrations. Like, am I sad or am I lonely? And then when does this like good sadness that feels cleansing move into like where I feel stuck? That it can be a fine line. So let's talk about indulgent emotions. Indulgent emotions are emotions that our brain loves us to feel because we just stay stuck and not moving forward. Some of indulgent emotions are overwhelm, worry, and confusion, right? And our brain loves these because we don't have to do anything. If we're overwhelmed, have you noticed how you kind of tend to freeze and you're like, I don't even know what to start with? Same with worry. Like worry keeps us stuck worrying and not usually taking action. And same with confusion. Our brain's like, we love confusion. Our brain loves it because we just get to stay stuck and not decide, not open ourselves up to any sort of like emotional pain or possible, physical pain or mental pain. So our brain just loves us to stay stuck. And then we don't have to do anything. And then we don't have to feel anything. And then we don't have to think anything. So how do we keep ourselves, if it's sort of like a spectrum, right? On one side of the spectrum is I'm motivated and then I cross this line and now I'm overwhelmed. And I'm just sort of stuck and I can't do anything because I'm so overwhelmed. How do we keep ourselves in the motivation area rather than in this frantic spin out thing? Okay. And I came up with a list of several. I'm not going to dig into them super deep, but it's something that I've sort of been observing in myself, and maybe you can start observing in yourself as well. So number one is expand your emotional vocabulary. I think it's highly useful for you to be able to, within yourself, differentiate what is the difference between motivation and overwhelm, and what is the difference between sadness and loneliness and boredom. So most of the time, our brains are like, I'm sad, I'm mad, I'm stressed, right? We have a very small emotional vocabulary. So get specific about what you're feeling and pay attention to when your just normal nervousness about a lesson you're teaching or something turns into more anxiety. And when that anxiety maybe even turns into panic, right? Pay attention to those things and be really, instead of just saying, I'm just always anxious, be really nuanced about it and expand your emotional vocabulary and be clear with yourself about what you're feeling so you can differentiate for yourself when you're kind of crossing these fine lines, okay? Also, Ask yourself, this is the next one. Ask yourself, is this my emotion or someone else's emotion? Now, if you're highly empathic or empathetic, you might be in a district meeting and everybody else is stressed, and all of a sudden you notice you're super stressed, right? Or maybe you're talking to your parents at home and they're super worried about you. Now, all of a sudden you're worried. And so I do believe that that is a thing, is that if we're in a room where a lot of people are worried or a lot of people are excited or a lot of people are confused, we can sometimes tend to take that on. So just be aware, ask yourself, like, is this really my anxiety, or am I anxious about my companion's anxiety? And then we can sort of draw that line and give it back to them. Tell yourself, this is the next one, tell yourself that you'll always have as much time as you need. I've noticed this for me. If I notice myself going into overwhelm from like this motivated, buzzy feeling to a buzzy feeling like overwhelm that doesn't feel as good or doesn't get me anywhere, I tell myself, listen, we have as much time as we need. Because I have a thing with time. Like I've got to get it done on time. So just tell yourself that. Also, here's the next one. Tell yourself that you don't need to prove anything. Right? Some of these letters that we're sending, some of these goals that we're setting, some of the ways that we're showing up with our companions and in our district meeting, we start to cross the line into overwhelm when we think we've got to prove something with the numbers that we're getting or with the letters that we're sending. So tell yourself, I don't need to prove anything. I'm just here to help. I'm just here to help as many people as I can. And some days it'll be a lot and some days it won't be. Some days I'm just helping myself. All of it is totally fine. Literally, you guys, if you don't hear anything else, you do not have to prove anything to anyone. Not even our heavenly parents. Like they know you, they know your heart, they know where you're at, they know what you're striving to do. You don't have to prove it. Okay. Here's the next one. Tell yourself that the way you're doing it is the best way for you, right? This is where we get into comparison. Like so-and-so is doing it this way, sister so-and-so is doing it this way, elder so-and-so is doing it this other way, right? And that's when we go from being motivated about our goals to being overwhelmed by our goals, because we're like, in our brain is like, oh, see, you're not doing it as well as them. So tell yourself that your way is the best way for you. You don't need to prove anything. You have as much time as you need. Here's the next one. Remember to rest. I have created a lot of podcasts on here about rest. And if these emails that you're sending me, if that is the pace of your entire mission every single day, you are likely, my friend, to burn out. You just are. No human being is designed to go 100 million miles an hour, be completely motivated 1,000% of the time. If 1,000% is even a thing, it's probably not, but 100% of the time, okay? No one is designed to do that. I notice that if I haven't rested, that is when I cross the line from motivation to overwhelm, and then I get stuck and spinning. Okay, the next one, remind yourself there's no danger. This has to do with your nervous system, which we're going to be recording some podcasts coming up in the next few months about your nervous system. It's the part of your brain, and your nervous system is like that fight or flight piece. And if your brain feels threatened at all, it might go, to this more nervous or anxious or overwhelmed. So you can just say, listen, brain, there's no danger. Your brain's actually worried that you might die, right? I have some podcasts that talk about that. It's worried about the emotional pain, thinks it's physical pain, doesn't have to be a problem. Just tell your brain, like, listen, brain, it's okay. No danger, no actual danger. The next one, remind yourself that you don't have to do any of it. Did you guys know this? Everything on your to-do list, you don't have to do any of it. And sometimes you just have to tell yourself, like, I don't have to do any of this. And then what you might find once you calm down is like you maybe want to do some of that stuff, but you don't have to do any of it, right? Because we don't have to prove ourselves or any of that. You just get to be you and do what you want to do. And sometimes when we let go of the have to, we discover what we actually want to do. Okay, and the last thing I'm going to share with you guys is I have sort of this mantra that I say to myself when I notice myself going from motivation and I've crossed the line into like this frantic kind of overwhelm. I just say, hey, Jennie, come back home. And sometimes I'll even like put my hand on my heart or like across my chest, or sometimes I'll like picture my feet really grounded into the earth that our Heavenly Father and our Savior Jesus Christ created for us, right? And I picture that and I am like, hey, Jennie, come back home. And this is a reminder to me that I can be present. Sometimes I think that we forget that we are literally the children of heavenly parents, like quite literally. And like we have the same access to their wisdom, right? Through just basically our spiritual DNA, right? To revelation, to calm, to peace that they have, right? We have their DNA within us. And so it's just a good reminder to me that my body, this gift that my heavenly parents have given me is my safe home, right? Even when there's no peace around you, even when everyone else is going 100 miles an hour and everybody else is frantic and overwhelmed, you can come back to just motivation. You don't have to cross the line into overwhelm. And sometimes you will. It's a trick our brain likes to play. Totally fine. But when you're ready to come back to just like that steady motivation, right? Just taking the next step. I'm in it for the long game. What's next? Who can I help? It's totally available to you. We can find that calm within ourselves, and we can find, right, calm within the plan that Jesus Christ died for us, right? There's so much peace and calm to be found there and within yourself. So long as, let me put a little caveat here, so long as you don't beat yourself up and judge yourself for where you're at. You can't judge and beat yourself up if you're on a lower vibration day. You can't judge and beat yourself up if you're on a higher vibration day and it just feels kind of out of control and you feel overwhelmed, right? You can create a safe place for yourself within yourself as soon as you drop the judgment, as soon as you drop all of that self sort of loathing and like self-criticism that we have. And again, you have a human brain. You still will sometimes. Also totally fine. But if you want to, just say, hey, Jennie, hey, self, come back home and create that safe kind of grounded place within you. I was thinking what it reminded me of is The Wizard of Oz. And if you've seen that movie, I know it's very old school, but it's a classic. Do you remember at the end of the movie, Dorothy has had those red slippers like the whole time, and she is trying to get back home. That's the reason that she goes to find the witch and her broomstick, and that's the reason that she comes across all the friends, and that's the reason that she goes to visit the wizard, is just so she can get home. And then at the very end, right, they're getting ready to send her home. The wizard has a hot air balloon, is like, this is going to take you home. Well, then all of a sudden, Toto jumps out of the basket and she chases off to get Toto. And in the meantime, the balloon floats away and she's like just devastated. Dorothy's like, how do I get home now? What am I even going to do? And then Glinda shows up, and I looked up the quote actually. She says, "You've always had the power, my dear. You just had to learn it for yourself." Like mind blown, right? She always could go home at any moment. And that is true for you too. I remember this story of a woman that's in our ward, and I can't remember, I think which of the armed forces she was in, maybe the Navy. I hope I might be getting it totally wrong, but I'll never forget a story she told us in a talk once where she was like on the other side of the world and there was so much craziness and chaos around her, and she just went into the bathroom and like prayed by the toilet. And in that moment, she had access to home, like home herself and her heavenly home, and the safety and peace that we can feel when we lean into the plan, surrender to the plan. And that was true for Dorothy. Like, she could go home at any moment. And this is true for you too. So we're just on this journey, right? To learn it for ourselves. To learn how to do that. And so look at these opportunities when you really have to start paying attention to yourself. When you notice yourself cross the line from motivation to overwhelm, or from motivation to nervous, or from motivation to anxiety. And then figure out how to come home to you and to like access our heavenly home where we can actually have peace, right? Through prayer or contemplation, or through our thoughts, or pondering, all of that kind of thing, right? So I hope that this helps you. It was something that I just noticed happen, and I'm really glad that I have this awareness now, so I can kind of bring myself back, and I can just say, hey, Jennie, come back home. Along with all of the other things that I talked to you about, like expand your emotional vocabulary. Ask, is this even my emotion if you're highly empathic? Tell yourself that you'll always have as much time as you need. Tell yourself that you don't need to prove anything. That's actually true, you guys. Tell yourself that the way you are doing it is the best way for you. Remember, please, to rest. Remind yourself that there's no danger. Remind yourself that you don't have to do any of it. And what you might discover is that you want to. And then come back home to yourself, to your heavenly home. Ground yourself in the present moment. Because listen, my friends, there's no place like home. Am I right? Okay. I hope you have the most amazing week, and we'll talk to you next time. Serving a mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints can present a unique set of challenges. And many of those challenges you might not even see coming. So you're going to want a unique set of solutions. It's easier than you think to overcome worry and anxiety, serve the successful mission you've always dreamed of, and navigate your post-mission experience with confidence. That is why I created some amazing free goodies that I'm sharing in my show notes. Maybe you'll want to grab the free training for preparing missionaries, my video course for RMs, or maybe you and I should hop on a free strategy call. If you're ready to take your preparedness to serve or your preparedness to come home to the next level, then go grab one of those freebies. And in the meantime, no matter which part of the mission experience you are involved in, just know that Jennie, the LDS mission coach, is thinking about you every single day.